I played Malphite for 30 games and hit Diamond. And no, this isn't some Smurf account and I've never actually been Diamond before. I'm your stereotypical hard-stuck Platinum player who decided to take one of the strongest champions in the game and see just how far I could climb with him. For the sake of transparency, this whole climb wasn't just with Malphite. About 30% of my games were auto-filled or Malphite was picked or banned, so I wasn't able to actually pick him. In these games, I ended up going 7-6, which is pretty good, but still a lot less than the roughly 65% win rate I had on Malphite. I have to say, when I started this challenge, I was not expecting this result at all, and throughout this little journey, I learned a lot about myself as a player and Malphite. Did I probably climb extra fast because I was playing one of the most broken champions in the game? Yes, but my win rate was a lot higher than Malphite's average win rate, and I knowingly picked him into bad matchups on more than one occasion. Originally, I thought this challenge was going to be a lot worse, and honestly, my first couple of games did not go very well. First, I overestimated my tankiness against a Darius, which led to him killing me and just completely snowballing the lane. I flashed thinking the grasp heal might save me, and it was close, but I still ended up dying. I ended up dying a couple more times in lane by not ulting away in one fight and trying to kill him under tower right before it died, which ended up being pretty close, but just led to me dying again. A little while later, Darius single-handedly won the enemy team a fight at Dragon, even though my team was ahead, and after that he became an unkillable raid boss, and I basically solo lost my team the game. My next game did not go much better at the beginning. I played against a Mordekaiser, and that made me realize just how badly Malphite gets destroyed by AP top laners, but we'll get into those matchups in a little bit. To start off the lane, I made one of the worst individual plays of my entire League of Legends career, which led to me dying and becoming pretty noticeably tilted. A little later, I ulted Mordekaiser under tower, but not even 3 tower shots were enough to help me win the fight. I'll admit, I could have ulted a little bit sooner to make him take an extra tower shot instead of hitting the minions one extra time, but I'll just chalk that up to being a little bit nervous because I was recording and not being very experienced on Malphite. But it was after these deaths I realized something about Malphite. I don't actually have to win lane to be useful. I mean, I did manage to kill Mordekaiser by dunking his ass a little later on, but I knew I couldn't do that consistently. You want to know what I can do super consistently? Land impactful ults that start winning fights. But you don't have to ult multiple people to win a fight. You can actually just get an important pick on someone like the AD carry to start a fight that way. It was fights like these that eventually led us to winning the game. Oh yeah, I also learned a kind of weird interaction with Jarvan's ult and Malphite's ult that's not particularly important, I just thought was interesting. Basically, if Jarvan times his ult correctly, his wall will shorten Malphite's ult. After a few games, I really started to pick up steam with Malphite. After starting to play Malphite as a teamfight champion rather than trying to win lane, I started winning games a lot more. He can still win lane, and we'll get into that in a little bit, but it's not his main role. This was actually a difficult concept for me to grasp at the beginning of this challenge because before this channel, I was a Wukong one-trick. I was very comfortable on that champion, and I usually played super aggressive and tried to snowball my lane. As you can see on my League of Graps page, it says Wukong Lover and Snowball. Obviously, I did end up learning this concept, but it was a slight change in playstyle for me, which was a little bit weird. What made this transition a lot easier, however, was the fact that Malphite is extremely easy mechanically. Since it's basically impossible to miss abilities on this champion, it allowed me to focus on things like laning, avoiding fights, CSing, and playing around my team in the mid game. This led to my KDA on Malphite being higher than any of my other champions so far this season, with the least average deaths and the most average assists. Despite everything I said about Malphite not needing to win lane, Riot has definitely done an excellent job giving Malphite all the tools needed to win lane. For starters, Malphite has great short trades with his passive shield and the high base damage on his W. Into tanky matchups and matchups with short trades, you take Grasp of the Undying and trade with your W every 8 seconds when your passive's back up. The damage and sustain from Grasp makes these trades insanely good for you. Now you're probably wondering, what about matchups like Darius and Mordekaiser that'll just completely kick your shit in if you get too close? Well, I've got an answer for you. You want to max Q, take Comet as your rune, and stay as far away from the enemy as you possibly can. You want to just slowly poke down the enemy until you get a gank from your jungler, or your opponent gets low enough to where you can just all in them with your ult and surprise them with a burst of damage. Okay, so when I started this challenge, I told my friends I was just gonna pick Malphite every game that he was available. After saying this, a lot of my friends started started making fun of me like, have fun playing against AP top laners, so yeah, let's talk about that. If you look at all of Malphite's worst matchups, you'll probably notice a pattern. Pretty much all of them are AP and fairly tanky. This means by taking on this challenge, I was opening myself up to get hard counterpicked like every single game, which was not fun a lot of the time. However, I did learn a couple of things to make these matchups easier. First, don't be afraid to take double MR in your runes. You do lose damage because some of your abilities scale with armor, but it's a lot more worth it to survive to 6 than have a little bit of extra damage on your E and W. Next, most of these counter picks have very low mobility, so if you play safe and wait for your jungler to gank you when you hit level 6, you can usually kill an overextended laner. Note, this does not work against Mordekaiser. He will just ult you and kill you in the Shadow Realm and you're gonna start crying. And last but not least, again, you don't need to win lane to win games with Malphite. Even if your lane is a living hell, you can still have a huge impact on fight. I mean, look at the Mordekaiser game I've showed a couple of times. I was down 5 platings, 2 kills, 2 assists, and 30 CS, but I still managed to have a high impact with my team and win the game. To finish off the challenge, I went on an amazing 7-game win streak that got me diamond for the very first time. If you're looking for a champion to climb with, I would highly recommend Malphite, as long as you can avoid those AP matchups, because even though you can win, they are so unfun to play against. If you made it this far, thank you so much. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you want to watch other little challenges of me like learning to play Scion in 10 hours, feel free to click one of the videos above, and I hope to see you in the next one.